It's the 28th of April, 1945. The Ravensbrück concentration camp for women in northern Germany, 90 kilometers north of Berlin. SOE agent Odette Sansom is in solitary confinement.
Push! Come on, I need her now!
But the camp is about to be overrun by the Soviet Red Army.
At this point in the war, the Germans are completely on the back foot. They've got the Russians attacking from one side, the Red Army, and they've got the Americans and the British from the other side.
Good! Out of my way!
Himmler has given the order that all witnesses to the horrors of the camp must be killed. The man who has come for Odette is Fritz Suhren.
Get up! Move! Yes! Up! Yes! Out!
Fritz Suhren was the commandant of Ravensbrück concentration camp. It was a women's only camp, and Suhren had complete control of everything that went on within it. So the forced labor programs that the women would be sent out into, the roundups for the executions, and also the medical experiments that were carried out at Ravensbrück. He would oversee those and have an understanding of what that meant.
Move! Come on!
Odette is about to see daylight for the first time in 6 months. But her life hangs in the balance. Suhren flees the Soviet liberation of his camp, driving south of Berlin towards the US Army line.
As the Red Army and the Americans get closer to Ravensbrück, the commandant, Suhren, panics. Because at this point, he knows he is going to get captured by one army or the other, and he's going to make that decision himself. He's going to pick a side, and so he goes for the Americans and the British. This is who he aims for.
Suhren takes Odette with him, believing she is the perfect bargaining chip to win him freedom. When Odette was captured, she gave the surname of her network chief, Churchill, as her own surname, convincing Suhren that she is related to British Prime Minister Winston Churchill.
Hands up!
But Suhren is about to get a nasty shock.
Don't fire!
Identify yourselves!
This is Odette Churchill! Don't shoot! Get out. This is Odette Churchill, the niece of Winston Churchill. Don't fire!
Who are you?
My name is Odette Sansom. I'm a member of the British Special Operations Executive. This man is a war criminal.
Can you imagine what Suhren would have thought? Because immediately Odette announces that not only is she not Churchill's niece or any relation to him, but she's an SOE agent. And she just confesses everything, this key information that he's been after for ages. It must have been incredibly frustrating and also humiliating for him.
Odette's final act of humiliation is to steal Suhren's bag containing his personalized pistol.
She hands him over to the Americans, watches while he's taken in, takes his bag, which has a pistol and his other belongings, and hands it over in London to Vera Atkins. It would have been a huge relief to finally get to safety. It would also be crucial because she knew about other agents. She could then give crucial information to Vera Atkins.
8th of May, 1945. The Nazis surrender. Victory in Europe. In London, thousands pour into the streets to celebrate, as Churchill announces peace across the continent. For the SOE, it appears much of their work is done. But for Vera, her hunt is just beginning. Odette arrives back in London. She meets with Vera to debrief her and to see if she can help track down the lost women's spies.
It's so good to have you back.
Thank you. After they arrested me, I was kept in prison in Paris. Then the Gestapo came.
Just tell us, who do you work for?
We sort of imagine all the terrible things that the Gestapo do to people, and there are terrible torture methods that were used. Odette herself was burnt and she had her toenails pulled out.
I have nothing to say. I didn't tell them anything. They seem to know so much. About the circuits. Who was involved, where, when. And then they took me over the border into Germany. Karlsruhe. With other women.
Karlsruhe.
And finally, Ravensbrück.
Karlsruhe. You said there were other women.
Odette describes 7 female agents that she remembers from Karlsruhe.
Thank you.
It's an important lead for Vera.
Noor Inayat Khan was one of Vera's favorite agents, one of the people she seems to really have cared about. When she was in training, there was some question mark as to whether or not Nora was good enough for the job because she seemed to be so kind. She said she could never lie. And yet Vera was really the one who gave the final approval and sort of said, no, you're going to go and she'll be fine and it'll work. And Vera seems to have had a very guilty conscience, a very sort of deeply felt question as to what had happened to this delightful young woman who she really had been responsible for sending to France.
Pretty. But no. Don't take my word for it, though. Ask the bitch at the prison. Becker. Fräulein Becker. She ran the place. If anyone knows, she will.
I think Vera's reaction to starting to uncover the stories of these women and to trace them to Karlsruhe must have come as a real shock to her. To understand the dehumanizing process that they'd been put through right from their arrest, and now they're in solitary confinement. These women that she would have last seen on an airfield in England, full of life and full of hope and excitement for their missions, suddenly in this horrible world, having experienced some brutal things already, and just starting to unravel their stories and wondering what became of them after they left this prison at Karlsruhe.
Thanks to Odette, Vera has a major breakthrough in intelligence. It's important for Vera, not only professionally, but also personally.
In a way, although Vera never had children herself, she does kind of have maternal qualities here in her investigation. It's like her agents are her own children. She's very, very close to them. She's seen them off personally. And there's something deep within her, which I would describe as maternal, in a way. That means she absolutely needs to know.
Vera has the prison in Karlsruhe in southern Germany as the last location for at least 7 women. Vera also knows about the Ravensbrück women's concentration camp, situated in northeastern Germany.
Ravensbrück was a concentration camp just north of Berlin, and unlike every other concentration camp, it was for women. It was particularly horrifying for the sensibilities of people in the 1940s as well, where women are meant to be kept out of combat, out of war, and treated with some level of humanity. Ravensbrück was a particular horrific site to end up in.
It's from here that 3 agents, including Yvonne Baisden and Odette Sansom, have come back alive. Ravensbrück is also the last known location for young mother and widow Violette Sabo. But there is one of Vera's agents that has not been spotted at either a prison or a camp: Noor Inayat Khan.
There's a generally held sense that Noor, amongst the others, might be alive. And so she realizes, too, that there's a tremendous amount of pressure on her, that if she's going to find her missing agents, she's going to have to do it fast.
Vera can't travel to Germany and continue her investigations due to her low rank. So she enlists the help of an army unit who are hunting Nazis across post-war Germany. A unit that was founded just a few years before, the SAS. The SAS, or Special Air Service, are an elite commando unit founded during the height of the war.
The SAS were formed in the North African desert, and the concept behind their kind of operations were these fast hit-and-run missions, and they were deploying in these Willys jeeps, which are very manoeuvrable and nimble, and they were heavily armed with mounted machine guns. And the idea was to carry out these hit-and-run raids, largely targeting Italian and German airfields. And they were extremely successful in the North Africa campaign. So in those 18 months or so that they soldiered there, the SAS had destroyed 387 proven enemy warplane kills. That's a spectacular achievement.
But in the winter of 1942, Hitler fights back. His Nazi high command issues the so-called Commando Order.
What the Commando Order said was that any parachutist, so any Allied parachutist, that could be SAS, it could be commandos, it could be Special Operations Executive Agents, any of those captured behind the lines, whether in uniform or out of uniform, whether fighting or not fighting, whether trying to surrender or not, would be kept alive only for as long as it took the Gestapo and the SS to interrogate them and find out what they knew, and then they would be shot out of hand. In other words, murdered. And what that meant for the SAS is if you were captured, it was a death sentence.
Despite the order, the SAS continue their raids and are a key part of the Allied success in northern France that sees the Nazis defeated. With the end of the war, SAS Major Bill Barkworth and a team are sent to Germany to hunt down the Nazis who carried out the commando order and bring them to justice.
Major Eric Bill Barkworth is an extraordinary figure in World War II, and especially within Special Forces history. He's eccentric, he's single-minded, he's a maverick, he's a rule breaker. He's one of those very, very archetypal individuals who can think the absolute unthinkable. But the other thing about Barkworth as well, which is key to how he develops as a character during the war, is he's got this unshakable moral compass. His sense of right and wrong is absolutely inflexible.
Barkworth has commandeered a private villa, the Villa Degler, in Gargenau, near Karlsruhe, on the edge of the Black Forest. And he is here on a special mission for the SAS. On the 12th of August, 1944, an SAS team was dropped behind enemy lines in the Vosges Mountains of eastern France to hit the Nazis before an Allied advance. But the team were tracked down, and 31 soldiers were captured. After months of interrogation, the soldiers were taken to the woods, stripped, and shot. Such a loss of life would have a profound effect on everyone in the SAS.
When you are serving in a unit like the SAS in World War II, you forge these bonds of brotherhood with your fellow operators, which are extremely, extremely powerful and close. If you read the accounts from people at the time, or you interview veterans, as I have, and you speak about those kind of relationships, they are very, very, very special. It's the kind of spirit that means you will lay down your life for your fellow brother in arms, and that's what so often happens.
Barkworth is determined to find those responsible for the deaths of the 31 SAS soldiers. Chief among them is Hans Kieffer, the head of the SD, the Nazi intelligence agency in Paris. A man Vera also believes may know what happened to her lost women spies. So Vera shares the photos of her agents with Barkworth in the hopes he can help her.
Both Barkworth and Vera, their investigations led them to one name, and that was Hans Kieffer. He was in charge of the SD. He was responsible for all of the investigations that the Gestapo and the SD were doing in Paris. So he was responsible for the interrogation and what the agents and what the soldiers of the SAS went through. He was a spider at the centre of the web, issuing all these orders for interrogating, and this is the man that they were desperate to find.
But as the atrocities of Kieffer and other Nazis come to light, people back in the UK begin to ask some difficult questions. Vera receives a letter alerting her to the actions of Violette Szabo's father, Charles Bushell. Violette has a child called Tanya, and Bushell wants to know when the baby's mother will return. Churchill is talking to his MP and giving interviews to the newspapers about his missing daughter. For Vera and the SOE, this could be a major problem.
Vera is in a very difficult situation because suddenly the war's over and these young women who've gone off to serve somewhere and their families don't know anything about what they really did in the SOE aren't coming home. Violette Chabot's father, who's been left with her infant daughter, is starting to ask questions, is starting to push for answers. What's happened to my daughter? Why hasn't she come home? And there are others starting to step forward and say, listen, we've heard nothing. We don't know where they were serving. We don't know what part of the world they've ended up in. We don't know why they're not home. And so there starts to become this pressure from family members and friends and other acquaintances of these young women who've just suddenly vanished.
And Vera has another problem. She has a new boss. Head of SOE F section, Maurice Buckmaster, has returned to his civilian role of public relations manager at the Ford Motor Company. He is replaced by new broom,
Vera,
Captain Norman Mott,
please, have a seat.
a man who comes from the SOE security section and whose main interest is in keeping things secret.
Mott doesn't help Vera very much. He doesn't see this as the sort of passionate necessity that Vera sees it as. And she's now started to get information about the camps. And she's pushing to see if she can get a chance to have some sort of contact or interrogate the heads of these camps where her agents might have ended up. And yet she's given the cold shoulder. She's really effectively told that this isn't of interest to the government, this is not of interest to her former colleagues, and would she please just leave it alone?
So it's really tense for Vera. She doesn't know how much power she will have to carry on this investigation. She needs to find out if there are agents surviving in these camps. She has to find them before they are dead or gone, or any evidence of them is wiped out. So the timing is crucial, and she is basically racing against the clock.
Vera has to fight to convince Mott and the War Office to allow her to go to Germany and speed up the hunt for her missing spies. Letters from agents' relatives asking difficult questions puts pressure on the Home Office. And after months of lobbying, Vera gets her answer. Vera will be given the rank of Flight Officer in the Women's Auxiliary Air Force, allowing her to travel to Germany. But she is told that she has just 4 days to demonstrate she can get results. December 1945. Vera's destination is Berlin, a capital city in ruins. A city conquered by the Soviet Union. In among the destruction of Germany, Vera has just a few days to prove her worth to the War Office. Vera's first mission is to identify the grave of F Section's male agent, Clément Marc Jumeau, who is believed to have died of tuberculosis at a hospital north of Berlin.
Many women were sent to Germany post-war, but mostly in secretarial roles or in a way to assist with the men of the armed forces who were trying to reconcile Germany. But Vera was there in a totally different capacity. She had a mission that she wanted to fulfill. And although she was probably very nervous and had a sense of trepidation, she really had to mask that and to go forward with an air of confidence and to prove that she was the right person to uncover the stories of the missing agents.
But Vera has a problem. Jumeau's grave is most likely in Soviet-controlled Germany, north of Berlin. After the fall of Germany, the country is split into zones under control of the US, the UK, France, and the Soviet Union. At a checkpoint in Buch, Vera is stopped by a Soviet sentry, and her progress is halted. Vera is blocked from entering the Soviet zone. If Vera fails here, she knows there is no chance that Mott and the War Office will allow her to continue her investigations. But then, Vera addresses the sentry in Russian. Something the sentry would not have been expecting.
They come to a Russian checkpoint and she speaks in Russian. And it must have been a real shock because for him, she was a member of the WAF, you know, she was a lady in a blue uniform and suddenly she's speaking Russian, which would have been something he would have been completely unprepared for.
Vera, somehow, not only speaks Russian, but she does so with a level of fluency that the sentry lets them through. Vera is able to continue her journey into the Soviet zone, thanks to her unexpected ability to speak Russian. At the hospital, Vera questions the staff. And they direct her to the location of Jumeau's grave. Within the first day of her time in Germany, Vera proves to the War Office and to Mott that her investigations get results. Now she can move on to the main reason for her journey, Ravensbrück. Ravensbrück. The women's camp. 90 kilometers north of Berlin.
Ravensbrück is a hideous camp which was set up specifically to hold women, and tens of thousands of women died there. I think over 50,000 women were imprisoned there.
Ravensbrück is of particular interest to Vera because she interviewed Odette, who'd come out of Ravensbrück, who had told her about her agents who were there. So Ravensbrück seems to be the place, the concentration camp, where a lot of her agents disappeared.
Vera is here to interrogate the commandant, Fritz Suhren. Ravensbrück camp is the camp which Odette left alive. It is also the last known location of Vera's missing agent, Violette Sabo, along with two others, Lillian Rolfe and Denise Bloch. Suhren holds the key to not just one, but possibly the lives of 3 of her agents. The pressure is on.
Vera's not particularly experienced yet at interrogations, and she knows he has information. He knows everything that went on in the camp, and if there were special prisoners considered to be agents, he would have known.
How many English women were at the camp?
There were no English women at the camp.
Odette is English.
She was a special prisoner, for whom I had special responsibilities, because we thought she was related to Churchill.
So the other English women, how many were there?
I already told you. There were no others.
I have testimony that there were. Answer me!
I have nothing else to say.
Suhren offers Vera nothing. Without any new evidence, Vera leaves Ravensbrück and returns to London empty-handed. Back in London, Vera gets some news that could prevent her from ever finding her agents.
Have a read, please.
She is informed that F section is to be closed down permanently.
Norman Mott tells Vera that she's to wind down, she's to close the office, and really nobody's very interested in what's happening to these agents of hers.
There is no sense that there should be accounts from surviving agents, which is what we see from other military intelligence departments. So there's no accountability, there's no learning from the mistakes of the past. SOE was so embarrassed by some of its mistakes that it was just going to hush everything up and close it down as quickly as possible.
If F section is shut down, it would see Vera without the mandate to find her lost women spies. They would remain missing, presumed dead.
But for Vera, this wasn't acceptable. It wasn't fair. It wasn't fair on them. It wasn't fair on their families. And so she was determined to find out what had happened, particularly to the young women agents that she had personally sent to France.
What Vera needs is new evidence that will shock her bosses into letting her continue. Vera receives word from SAS Major Barkworth about evidence from a secret concentration camp. A camp that has been liberated and filmed by US forces. Known as Natzweiler Struthof, the camp is hidden in the Vosges Mountains of eastern France, close to the German border. It is the only camp the Nazis build in France. A camp built to destroy the French resistance. On the 7th of December 1941, Hitler passes an order codenamed Night and Fog. This secret order means anyone believed to be endangering German security can be abducted at night and without trial taken to Natzweiler. People would be, according to the Nazi order, turned into mist.
It's a way of punishing people that was more feared than any other. Because if you disappear in the night in the fog, nobody knows what's happened to you. And it was a great way that the Nazis brought fear to the general populations of the people that they were occupying.
But as the war continues, the type of camp Natzweiler is changes, and US forces make disturbing discoveries. Operating tables for experiments, a crematorium for burning bodies, and hundreds, if not thousands, of urns containing the ashes of prisoners, all without names. This is exactly the kind of camp where Barkworth's SAS men and Vera's agents might have been taken to to be disappeared. But it's what Barkworth includes next in his report that has the most shocking impact on Vera's hunt for her lost women spies. Vera reads Barkworth's interrogation report of a former prisoner at Natzweiler, Franz Berg. Berg tells Barkworth he worked in the crematorium as a stoker. One day in July 1944, Berg and the other stokers are told to expect some English women. From his crematorium cell, he witnesses their arrival.
Franz gives a detailed deposition. He describes these English women who come, and on the night, he says that the head of the crematorium has told him to light the fires and take it to the hottest point by 9:30 p.m. They're hearing that these girls are going to be killed by lethal injection. They see 3 women being dragged. These are the English women. 2 are unconscious. One of them seems to be moving. There's groans and grunts, and one even speaks and says, "Pourquoi?" They are then dragged into the crematorium. They can't see anymore. And they say later that one of the women was alive and had scratched one of the men who had come. And then they heard the crematorium doors being shut, and they knew it was all being fired up. After that, there's silence. It's horror at what these girls would have gone through. There is no way, when they prepared them for their training, for the torture that might lie ahead, they would have envisaged something like this, that they are going to be thrown alive into a crematorium with lethal injections.
After being shown Vera's photographs of her missing spies, Berg says that he believes one of the women brought to the crematorium is Noor Inayat Khan.
Vera would have been absolutely horrified, and the thought that this could have been Noor as well. I mean, horrified for all the girls. And the fact that maybe this is what happened to Noor is something that really haunted her.
Armed with Berg's testimony from Natzweiler, Vera heads to her superiors. She will not give up on her women. Berg's testimony makes disturbing reading for the British security services.
Whitehall will be deeply troubled by the evidence that Vera's actually gaining of the sheer horror of the concentration camps, because let's not forget that the public don't know that women were sent behind enemy lines. Whitehall would not want this highly secret organisation, the SOE, knowledge of it to come out, but even more sensitive and potentially a public outcry to hear that women had been dropped into these dangerous areas and that some of them hadn't come back and had been horrifically tortured.
After seeing Berg's testimony, MI6 agreed to fund Vera for another 3 months of investigations in the hope that Vera can keep the story of the lost women spies out of the public eye. Vera heads back to Germany. Vera is assigned to the War Crimes Unit at the British Army headquarters in Germany.
The War Crimes Unit was based at Bad Oeynhausen, which was the headquarters of the British Army on the Rhine. So it was a very important place. And the War Crimes Unit was really trying to find high-ranking Nazis, people who would have been involved in what we would call war crimes. So with executions, with maltreatment of prisoners, with the concentration camp system in general. And the idea would not only be to find these officers, but also to find evidence about crimes against humanity that they had committed. So various murders or procedures that they had followed that were against the Geneva Convention.
Vera will support the British judges in their evidence gathering.
Vera's main role within the War Crimes Unit was to trace the missing SOE agents, and her job would be to trace them as best she could. This was going to be exceptionally difficult for her, as the prisoners were classified as Nacht und Nebel, night and fog, so most records would technically have disappeared if they'd ever been kept in the first place. But her job was to trace them through the various prison systems that they'd been through, had they gone into camps, and not only to trace them, but to trace the people responsible for their imprisonment and murders, if that was going to be the case.
Vera begins by tracing back her agents' whereabouts before they get to the camp at Natzweiler. And her attention turns to a witness who could hold the key. It's a name given to Vera by Odette Sansom. It is the chief warder of Karlsruhe prison, Fräulein Becker. Vera leaves the War Crimes Office, headed for Karlsruhe prison, in the hope that finding Becker might give her the information she needs.
Fräulein Becker would have been really important for Vera to get her hands on. She'd been identified in one of the affidavits of the surviving agents anyway, and Vera needed to go out and find her, because as the chief wardress, she would have received all new prisoners coming into Karlsruhe. She would have met them personally, taken away their personal effects, made a record of what they were, but she would have also recorded their names. So be they real names or their aliases, she would have recorded the names of the SOE women going into that prison.
On arrival at the prison, Vera discovers that Fräulein Becker hasn't even left her post as chief warder. Vera can now begin her questioning.
Karlsruhe was technically a civilian prison, so it wasn't really used for political prisoners, which arguably the SOE agents were. When they arrived at Karlsruhe, they were put into solitary confinement. Food would have been pretty grim and very scarce. They would have only had the clothes they were standing up in. And we know that the cells were quite sparse, a single bed, maybe a bucket for a toilet. So it was a very grim place.
I didn't want them here. This is a regular prison, not for politicals like them. They should never have been here.
Them?
Yes.
All of them. And they all left in July 1944.
No. The one you mentioned, Odette. She left then. The others, it was later in the year.
So these 7 in the photographs, they didn't leave in July?
That's what I said. They left later.
I need to see your records. Now, please.
We don't have any.
I can't imagine that.
The French. When they came, they destroyed everything. Smashed it all up. All gone.
Thank you, Fräulein Becker. I'm sure I'll see you again soon.
Vera doesn't have the written records she needs as evidence, but she does have something more important. Becker's testimony directly contradicts the evidence of the crematorium stoker at Natzweiler, Franz Berg. Berg stated that 4 women are killed at the Natzweiler camp in July 1944. But Becker claims that, including Noor, 7 of Vera's lost women spies are still in Karlsruhe prison later than July 1944. So those women could not have been the ones killed at Natzweiler.
Vera already has an eyewitness testimony from Natzweiler saying that Noor is dead. And now she has another eyewitness testimony saying, no, that is not true, she is here. She needs some sort of corroborating evidence to prove where Noor is, one way or the other.
Vera leaves Becker and Karlsruhe with the chance that some of her lost women spies could still be alive.